Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Steve Hyland, and I'm the lead of Growth Education for the CAAT Pension Plan. Today, I'm going to be taking you through an introduction to DBplus. DBplus is an easy-to-understand, modern, defined benefit pension plan design within the CAAT Pension Plan. By the end of today's session, we hope you have a better understanding of the key aspects of DBplus and get answers to the questions you may have. We will discuss who we are, the CAAT Pension Plan, and what we provide to our members. And for those of you that don't know, CAAT stands for the Colleges of Applied Arts and Technology. But we will mostly be talking about DBplus, which again is CAAT's second plan design. In fact, it's an award-winning plan design which was first introduced in 2018. CAAT has its regular plan design specifically for those who work within the community college system, and DBplus is a more simplified or straightforward plan design. We'll go over how it works and provide an example of how one's pension builds year over year. And we'll discuss all of the additional benefits and key features that DBplus has to offer. So we'll get into the specific plan provisions. For example, we'll talk about early retirement and survivor benefits. We'll also touch on the option of purchasing additional pension. This is an option that members have to ultimately increase their pension in retirement. And finally, we'll point you in the right direction for how to join DBplus and show you where to find more information and additional resources. About CAAT. The CAAT Pension Plan, or the Colleges of Applied Arts and Technology Pension Plan, was established back in the 60s, 1967 specifically, to provide teachers from the community college sector with a defined benefit pension plan, which in turn provides great benefit security. We are a large, well-established public sector pension plan. CAAT provides guaranteed lifetime pensions in retirement, and we take great pride in fulfilling that pension promise to all of our members. We are a sustainable, modern, jointly sponsored plan. And when we use that term jointly sponsored, what this means is that we have a board of trustees and a sponsors committee who make decisions based on the best interests of our plan members. How do we do this? Well, we have a very strong governance structure, which means we have equal representation at that board level. Half the members on the board are members represented by various union groups, and the other half represent the employers. So that's in essence what we really mean when we use that term jointly sponsored. The plan is governed by employers and members alike. What are the benefits of belonging to the CAAT Pension Plan? Well, again, CAAT provides guaranteed lifetime pensions for its members. These pensions are DB, or defined benefit pensions. We at CAAT are very passionate about defined benefit pensions. We believe they are the gold standard of all pension plans. And we also believe that all Canadians should have access to defined benefit plans. But what does DB really mean? Well, there are many different types of pension plans out there. But a defined benefit pension means that a member's benefit at retirement is defined. In other words, we know what it's going to be because a member's retirement benefit is based on a set pension formula. And we're going to show you an example of the DBplus plan formula coming up shortly. CAAT also has enhancements like conditional inflation protection, and we also have survivor benefits as well, meaning where does that pension go in the event of a member's passing? And these are no-cost survivor pensions. So for example, if a member has a spouse and were to pass away, the pension doesn't stop. That pension goes on to the surviving spouse for the rest of his or her lifetime. Not at 100% of what the member was receiving, but CAAT has what's called a joint and survivor 60% pension. This is our normal form of pension. And we also have a joint and survivor 75% pension as well. And we will provide more details on these particular features in the additional benefits section of this webinar. CAAT has always had a strong foundation. As mentioned, we've been around for quite a while, so we are a very secure pension plan. But over the years, CAAT continues to expand. We currently have 56 employers and over 56,000 members. That 56 employer number on the left not only includes all 24 colleges in Ontario, for example, Sheridan College, Humber, Seneca College, but we do have other groups in the plan as we continue to grow. In fact, growth has been an ongoing activity of the plan for quite a while now, with several high-profile pension plan mergers already occurring. Last year, Torstar joined CAAT with a 97% member approval rate, all into DBplus. And more recently, Postmedia joined in 2019. And one of our first new non-college affiliated employers was ROM, or the Royal Ontario Museum. They joined the CAAT pension plan back in 2016. At CAAT, we have dedicated and aligned pension expertise. What this means is that we have a strict focus on pensions. We do not provide any health and welfare benefits. We're not here to provide a dental plan because, again, our main focus is on providing all of our members with monthly pensions for life. All of our staff are aligned on delivering that same pension goal. The CAAT pension plan currently has over 170 dedicated staff to delivering secure pensions. And none of these positions are bonusable, so our staff do not receive any bonuses. We are a not-for-profit trust organization. This essentially means that we have a pension fund, and all money or investments go towards paying members their pensions. In fact, we have a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that every single dime goes towards paying people out their pensions. Also, keep in mind that all of our staff are members of the CAAT pension plan. And when I say all of our staff, we have a very diverse group of professionals working in various departments. For example, we have a pension administration team, a communications team, policy, risk management, and an investment team. In terms of our investment management program, we have $10.8 billion in net assets, and we are 120% funded on a going concern basis, with a $2.6 billion funding reserve. So CAAT is currently in a surplus position. When we refer to our reserves and the fact that we are 120% funded, what this means is that for every dollar we need to pay out in pensions, we have $1.20 sitting in the bank backing that pension promise. So this really speaks to the health of the plan fund overall. At the end of 2018, our 5-year average annual net return was 8.7%. Net meaning net of all fees. And you can see our long-term average as well. CAAT's 10-year annual net return was 9.9%. And this is probably what's important to the majority of our members because after all, we are in the business of paying people out their lifetime pensions, and not only for members, but for their surviving spouses as well. But no matter what period you look at, whether it be 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years, CAAT's returns are consistently in the first quartile, which means the top 25% of the funds that we compare against. The CAAT pension plan has two plan designs, DB Prime and DBplus. DB Prime, which was established in 1967, and again, this is for full-time Ontario college-related members, so members who work within that college system. When describing the pension formula, it's a final average earnings formula times years of credited service. This particular design determines a member's benefit at retirement. DBplus is CAAT's second plan design. And again, it was launched in 2018. And this is the plan design which we'll be focusing on today. The benefits accrue in DBplus on all earnings, and contributions are a major component in determining a member's pension in this particular design. All part-time and contract employees from the CAAT pension plan are in DBplus. But it's important to understand that both plan designs are defined benefit pensions. They are both predictable because they are both based on plan formulas, and although they are very different, they both have that same shared governance, which means both plan designs follow the same governance model within the CAAT pension plan, and both designs share one pension fund. So now let's get into DBplus in a little more detail. So just to recap, DBplus is a simple, modern, defined benefit pension design. It has fixed contribution rates for both you and your employer. The pension benefits earned are a percentage of the contributions being made, and the ancillary benefits, or part 2 of the plan formula, so to speak, are based on the funded status of the plan. And we'll talk about what that means in just a second as well. But as an employee participating in DBplus, all members would have to do is make contributions. That's it. And then they can enjoy watching their defined benefit pension grow over their working lifetime. Members will grow a guaranteed base pension year over year, and they will also build their pension with the ancillary benefits based on a member's previous year's accrual. But I don't want to confuse anyone too much at this point, as we will display the plan formula and describe how it all works in just a few slides from now. But from an employer's perspective, it's the same. All they have to do is make their contributions because they match a member's contributions dollar for dollar, and that's it. So employers can offer a defined benefit pension plan to their employees, which is a very attractive recruitment and retention tool. So remember, with DBplus, members earn a predictable, secure pension payable for life. Predictable because pensions are based on the DBplus pension formula, and secure simply because the pension is backed by a large, well-established multi-employer pension plan such as CAAT. Belonging to a defined benefit pension plan means that members will not have to worry about individual investment decisions or monitoring their account balances. In DBplus, CAAT has a dedicated team of professionals who manage all of these investments. Another benefit of DBplus is that it can be for all types of workers in all types of industries. So not only for those who work in the public sector, but it's an available option for those that work in the private sector, and even the not-for-profit sector as well. And it has all the benefits of a defined benefit pension plan. Employees want it, and employers want to offer it. Based on a study titled The Value of a Good Pension, prepared by the Healthcare of Ontario Pension Plan, the expected payout for each dollar contributed is much higher with a modern defined benefit plan like DBplus than individual savings or even a large DC plan. In the study, they specifically looked and compared individual RRSPs, large defined contribution plans, and modern defined benefit plans like DBplus. You can see here that for every dollar contributed to an individual RRSP, the expected payout is $1.70. For a large defined contribution plan, the expected payout on that dollar is $2.58. And for a modern defined benefit plan, it's $5.32. So again, about 5 times higher. And that's without the stress, risks, or costs. When comparing DBplus to defined contribution pension plans, here you can see the main differences. In DBplus, members receive guaranteed base benefits, whereas in DC plans, the benefits are unknown. DBplus offers inflation protection conditional on our funding, but in defined contribution plans, inflation protection does not exist. With DBplus, early retirement is available as early as age 50. The assets in the plan fund are professionally managed by experts with no commissions, fees, or administration charges. In terms of the contribution rate, employers have the flexibility to choose between 5 and 9%, or it can be based on negotiations by the bargaining unit. But once determined, these are fixed contribution rates and they are matched dollar for dollar by the employer. With defined contribution plans, there is always that risk of outliving your savings, and the members are responsible for choosing and managing their own investments based on the employer's offerings. It's also important to note that employers pay the cost of running the defined contribution plan, and members pay a group rate commission with higher fees in retirement. So how does DBplus work? DBplus is straightforward both for members and for employers. Members simply make contributions throughout their working life, and when they retire, they get to enjoy the benefits of a secure, defined benefit pension. And with employers, it's pretty much the same thing. Employers match member contributions on an ongoing basis, and they simply remit those total contributions to CAAT each month. This is appealing for employers because not only are they providing a defined benefit pension to its employees, but they also get to remove that pension liability off their balance sheet. When it comes to determining contribution rates, as mentioned earlier, employers can choose anywhere between 5 to 9%. And the members will contribute on their T4 earnings, and the employer matches. This is important because remember, a member's contributions are directly linked to the benefits they earn in DBplus. This means that contributions are a major component of that pension formula, and it's both portions of contributions that factor in when calculating one's pension. Contributions are also tax deductible, so they are subject to the Income Tax Act, or ITA, meaning contributions are deducted before any regular deductions are taken off a member's pay. For example, CPP deductions, employment insurance, etc. And this is very similar to RRSP contributions as well. Because contributions are a major component in determining one's pension, each dollar contributed will result in an increase in one's pension. This is how contributions are linked to benefits earned. So here's what the DBplus pension formula looks like. And it's not as confusing as it may look. This is basically how we take those contributions and turn them into an annual pension. As you can see here, there are two parts to the pension formula. So let's start with number 1. In the top box here in blue, you can see that we take the total contributions that you and your employer make, and we simply multiply them by what's called our annual pension factor, which is currently 8.5%. This makes up a member's annual base pension, or their guaranteed base pension. So it's total contributions times 8.5%. Then if you look at number 2, or the second part of the plan formula, these are enhancements to pensions already earned or credited each year. But they are conditional on the plan's funded status. So we're also going to grow your pension as long as our funded ratio permits. To do this, we take the total pension earned in the previous year and we multiply by the AIW enhancement rate. AIW stands for Average Industrial Wage, and it's the measure in which wages increase in Canada year over year. I like to think of AIW increases as pre-retirement indexing. These are increases that members receive while they're working. Let me give you an example. Last year, the AIW was 2.7%. So this would be multiplied by a member's total pension earned in the previous year. And we do this year over year as long as our funded status permits. But remember, AIW is a number that's not set by CAAT. This is a government number, so it is set by Statistics Canada each year. So let's show you an example, and hopefully this will give you a better understanding of how a member's pension accrues in DBplus. This is Robin. She's 50 years old and has earnings of $60,000. Her earnings increase by 1% each year, and she contributes 5% of her earnings. Her employer matches that amount for a total of 10% contributions. Robin's contribution in year 1 is 5% times her earnings of $60,000. So Robin contributes $3,000 in her first year. The employer is also going to match that $3,000 for a total of $6,000 in contributions. We'll then multiply that total by 8.5%, which is our annual pension factor, and Robin earns an annual pension in year 1 of $510. So the math is quite simple. So here is the $510 in Robin's first year. This is her annual base pension. The year after that, when Robin is 51, you can see her annual base pension earned increase to $515. And this is simply due to the 1% earnings increase that she received. But now we're going to stack her previous year's pension that she earned on top of the $515. And then we won't even stop there. CAAT would now then add the AIW increase in that particular year to last year's pension, which was the $510. That's what that $11 on the screen represents. And for the purposes of this example, we have assumed a 2.2% AIW increase each year, which is the average AIW over the last 20 years in Canada. So we're stacking that AIW on as well for a total of $1,036 in earned pension in Robin's second year. And in Robin's third year, the same concept applies. We're going to continue stacking the previous year's total pension on top, only now everything is compounded. In other words, when Robin is 52, she will earn an annual pension of $520, and we are bringing over her total pension from the previous year, which was $1,036, and this total pension will now receive an AIW enhancement. And that AIW enhancement is now $23 instead of $11. And when we add the $520 and the $1,036 plus the AIW, her total pension earned at age 52 is $1,579. So it's also important to realize that although the granting of AIW is conditional on our funded ratio, once it is granted, it can never be taken away. And it will actually form a part of a member's guaranteed base pension. So hopefully you can now see how a member's pension accrues each year under DBplus. But what if we look at the rest of her working life? Robin's pension continues to build right through to retirement. This graph shows how her pension grows year over year from age 50 right up until the age of 65. We've shown her guaranteed base pension that she's built, and that's the big bottom part of the triangle in dark blue. But we've also added the AIW enhancement increases, which are sitting on top. And you can see how they really start to add up through Robin's working life. In fact, over the 15 years between age 50 and 65, AIW can add almost 17% to Robin's pension. So you can see that we have shown it separately here, so you can easily see how it adds to her pension. And finally, at the end, you can see over this 15-year period, at age 65, Robin will have contributed about $51,800 to DBplus. So why is that important? Well, let's now look at Robin's expected pension payments. So you can see Robin's 15 years of contributions to the left between ages 50 and 65. And then you can see her pension starts at age 65. And when it does, her pension doesn't stop building. It's also going to grow in retirement with conditional inflation enhancements. They are paid at 75% of the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. And we've shown them here in the light blue triangle sitting on top of the guaranteed lifetime pension. So you can see that her pension starts at around $11,000 per year, but by the time she has reached age 90, her pension has grown to a little bit above $16,000. And this is simply due to the inflation and enhancements. So a couple of things to mention here. You can see just how valuable the AIW enhancements can be for Robin's working life, and how much additional pension inflation adjustments can bring her after retirement. Also, when we mention the contributions that she's paid in throughout her working life, and that was around $51,800, you can see here that by age 70, Robin would have already recovered everything she's paid in. And this is indicated by the dotted line that you see here on the screen. And this is in fact why CAAT has a guaranteed 5-year payment period. So from a member's perspective, you're never going to get anything less out of the plan than what you've paid in. And another takeaway is that there's a very quick return in retirement on what a member has put in or contributed. And finally, if you take a look at the other box on the right-hand side of the screen, that if we assume Robin lives to be 90 years old, which is a reasonable expectation of life for someone retiring at age 65, and she then dies with the survivor pension continuing, she can expect to receive 693% of her contributions in total pension payments to both her and her surviving spouse. This is Robin's return on her contributions. So members often ask, how likely is it that these conditional inflation enhancements will be paid? Or is there going to be a good chance that they will be granted? And the answer is yes. For starters, CAAT hasn't missed an inflation enhancement since it was first introduced back in 2007. Also, CAAT has done a number of modeling and projections out as far as 20 years into the future using various economic scenarios, And in a very high number of cases, 97% of all cases, the CAAT plan remains in a surplus even 20 years into the future. So there is a very high likelihood that these conditional enhancements will be paid. And if there's ever a year when our funded position drops down and we cannot grant these conditional enhancements, our plan has what's called a catch-up provision, so that when our plan returns to a strong financial position, any enhancement that was not granted will be made whole. In other words, we can make up any missed inflation increases. Before we jump into the additional benefits of DBplus, it's important to realize that there may be jurisdictional differences for member-specific rules or plan provisions, depending on where the employer is located in Canada. The CAAT pension plan is located in Ontario, but some employers may be located in different provinces. Pension legislation sets out minimum standards that may apply to a member's benefit, for example, payment options or the definition of a spouse. However, this does not change the formula under DBplus and does not affect the ancillary benefits offered under the plan. We want to ensure members understand that while provincial legislation sets the minimum standards, our plan terms generally provide better than these minimums, and in this case, CAAT plan terms will apply. So if your employment ends before retirement age, here are the options that are available. In DBplus, retirement age starts at age 50. So if a member were to leave their employer before the age of 50, here are the options that are available. And please keep in mind, what a member has earned is theirs. So members can defer their pension, they can transfer their pension to another pension plan, or they can elect to take their benefit with them, or simply put, cash out their benefit to invest it as they see fit. Deferring your pension is the first option. Members can leave their pension in the CAAT plan and we will be responsible for it. And you can start to take it at any time after the age of 50. If you leave your pension in the plan, it's like you're parking your benefit with CAAT, and it stays frozen, so to speak, until you're ready to draw on it at a later date, maybe at age 65, for example. Your base benefit is not increasing, but it is slightly growing with inflation protection. If you decide to take your pension from a deferred status before the age of 65, it will be reduced by 5% per year. If you don't want to leave your pension in the plan, you have the option of transferring the lump sum commuted value of your benefit out of the plan. If you do that, then you are responsible for investing it on your own and growing it through your investment returns. The option to transfer out your lump sum is available provided you terminate before you become retirement eligible. And remember, retirement eligibility in DBplus is age 50. So if you were to choose this option, you are responsible for investing your retirement benefit with a financial institution of your choosing. And it's for your retirement, so it is subject to the Income Tax Act as well. The third option is, let's say you decide to transfer your benefit out to another pension plan at your new employer, for example, and that pension plan agrees to accept the transfer. CAAT will transfer that lump sum value of your pension to that new employer's pension plan. This option is more straightforward, but let's circle back to the lump sum option. The commuted value is the lump sum equivalent to a series of future pension payments, or it's the lump sum monetary value of all of your future pension payments. The calculation is highly prescribed in legislation, including assumptions about future interest rates, survival prospects, and pension commencement age. So commuted values are not something that's easily calculated. In fact, actuaries do these types of calculations, and they have to use these aforementioned assumptions. Another thing to keep in mind is that some of the interest rates, or CIA rates, that they use in calculating the CVs, they change month to month. So commuted values tend to go up and down, which means they're not easy to predict. Keep in mind, the lump sum commuted value calculation also reflects future indexing and survivor pensions as well. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about early retirement. From a member perspective, what if you wanted to retire before age 65? In DBplus you can, but your pension will be reduced by 3 to 5% per year. Currently, the reduction factor is 3% per year, but it can be between 3 and 5% based on our funding policy. And that reduction factor is simply there to reflect the fact that you're starting your pension earlier, and therefore it is likely to be paid for a longer period of time. So right now, because our funded position is so strong, we are offering the smallest reduction possible, which is 3% per year before the age of 65. This is also the lowest that we can apply as per the Income Tax Act allows us to. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you wanted to retire at age 60. You'd be 5 years away from age 65. At 3% per year, you'd be looking at a 15% reduction. And some people may refer to this as a penalty, but this is actually a subsidy. Because if we wanted to actuarially or statistically reflect the true reduction that should be applied to your pension to reflect the fact that it's going to be paid for a longer period of time, that reduction would be more like a 6% reduction per year. So yes, there is a reduction, but it is a smaller reduction compared to one that you would apply actuarially. And when you compare this reduction to the Canada Pension Plan, well, with CPP, it's reduced by 7.2% per year. So if you wanted to collect CPP at age 60, you'd be looking at a 36% reduction. As mentioned earlier, a member's pension in DBplus also includes survivor benefits. DBplus offers distinctive survivor options with no reduction in your DBplus pension. What this means is that a member's pension will not reduce as a result of choosing one of CAAT's joint and survivor options at retirement. We call this a no-cost survivor pension for your spouse. Another unique feature is that our joint and survivor options continue to apply to eligible spouses even if you were to marry after retirement. It is important to note that there is a big difference between pre-retirement death benefits and post-retirement death benefits. So we will look at a situation where a member passes away prior to commencing their pension first, and we're going to split that into two, where you have a spouse and where you do not have a spouse. So on the left-hand side of the screen, let's assume that you have passed away prior to retirement and you are survived by a spouse. Your spouse would be entitled to a lump sum payment, and that lump sum payment is otherwise known as the commuted value, or CV, which we spoke about earlier. So the benefit is the lump sum value of your pension, which is calculated at the member's date of death. And if he or she were to elect to take it, there are no further benefits payable. But let's say your spouse does not want to take the commuted value. He or she has the option to convert it to an immediate pension payable for their life. Or if your spouse does not want it straight away, it can be deferred until they turn 65. So 3 options available to your spouse for a pre-retirement death benefit: the lump sum, an immediate pension, or a deferred pension. If you don't have a spouse, the benefit would be paid to your designated beneficiary in a lump sum form of payment, which is why we consider it very important to designate a beneficiary, not just under DBplus, but in all participating pension plans. If you have children under the age of 18, there is an eligible children's survivor pension, which is 50% of the member's pension, and it's payable up until the age of 18, and then it would stop. So what about the situation where a member were to pass away in retirement, a post-retirement death? Well, again, it would depend on whether you have a spouse or you do not have a spouse. In a situation where you have a spouse, as I mentioned before, we have a built-in survivor pension called a joint and survivor 60% pension, meaning the pension payments continue to the spouse at 60% of what the member was receiving in pension payments. CAAT also has a joint and survivor 75% option. In this case, the surviving spouse would receive 75% of what the member was receiving upon the member's passing. But in this case, a member's pension would reduce slightly as a result of electing this option. So here there is a cost, and the reduction is around a 2 to 3% reduction in the member's pension. But it also depends on the age of the spouse. So please keep in mind, this is a one-time choice a member would make at the time of retirement on his or her retirement option forms. Without a spouse, any eligible children would receive 60% of the member's pension up until the age of 18. CAAT has what's called a minimum 60 monthly payment guarantee. 60 monthly payments equate to 5 years. So you could say a 5-year guarantee. So let me give you an example. Let's say you do not have a spouse or any eligible children, but you have a beneficiary, and you've been retired for over 10 years, and then you were to pass away. Then there would be nothing left over for your beneficiary, and this is because you've surpassed the 60-month payment guarantee. But let's say, for example, if something happens to you in the first 2 years of retirement, then your designated beneficiary would receive the remainder of the 60 monthly payments. So that would be the remainder of the final 3 years of payments, and it would be paid out in a lump sum form to that designated beneficiary. So please keep in mind that with survivor benefits, it truly depends on when the member passes away and who is there at the time of the member's passing. So something that most pension plans, even in the public sector, are moving away from is inflation protection, also known as post-retirement indexing or cost of living increases in retirement. DBplus has inflation enhancements, but they are conditional on the plan's funded status. These enhancements will form a part of your guaranteed pension, and CAAT pays inflation protection at 75% of the CPI. Conditional means that if the plan can afford to pay it, then we will. So if the plan has $1 single of surplus, we will continue to pay these inflation enhancements to our current retirees. AIW are the enhancements that members receive while they're working, and they are paid at 100%. The DBplus pension factor can also increase. In fact, it's anticipated to increase to 9 or 9.5% in the coming years. And the early retirement subsidy can improve from a 5% reduction per year to as low as 3% per year. And as discussed earlier, currently the reduction is at 3% per year up until the age of 65. Your defined benefit pension from the CAAT pension plan is the cornerstone of your retirement income. It's going to provide you with a lifetime of monthly pension payments after you retire. A DBplus pension purchase is an effective way to maximize this lifetime retirement income from one secure source. So it may be worth it for you to consider a DBplus pension purchase. As a member under DBplus, what you could do is purchase additional pension to eventually give you a larger monthly pension payment when you retire. But remember, this is your option. Please keep in mind, it does need to be in respect of your prior employment, or simply put, tied to employment. You may be able to purchase past periods of employment with a participating employer that are not credited under the CAAT pension plan. For example, periods of employment with your current employer. For example, you may have a hire to enrollment period, otherwise known as a waiting period, where you had to wait a set amount of time before you could enroll in your employer's pension plan. If you did, then you could explore the option of purchasing more pension in DBplus. You could also purchase periods with another employer when you participated in its registered pension plan. But remember, that period does need to be tied to employment. Now, although the option of purchasing pension is not for everyone, there are a number of benefits to purchasing pension in DBplus. First, a pension purchase results in a higher lifetime pension in retirement. And this could also result in a member having a little more flexibility and possibly choosing to retire at an earlier date than originally anticipated. Also, some people feel more comfortable collecting retirement income from one secure source, as opposed to collecting from multiple sources. So if you like the idea of consolidating all your pension assets under one pension plan, then making a purchase may be right for you. Next, the pension that you purchase becomes part of your guaranteed pension, which means it is treated the same way as the benefit that you are earning through regular contributions while you're working. This means that the pension you purchase will continue to grow as you continue working and contributing to DBplus while it receives AIW increases. Also, it's important to understand that the pension you purchase includes the same conditional inflation protection and no-cost survivor benefits as the rest of your pension. When you retire, your pension continues to grow annually with conditional inflation protection to help offset the impact of inflation. So assuming you made a purchase, these increases in retirement will be higher. And remember, your purchase pension also receives survivor benefits. In other words, when you're increasing your pension with a purchase, that will ultimately increase your survivor's pension benefit as well. And lastly, your defined benefit pension from the CAAT pension plan is a guaranteed stream of lifetime pension payments in retirement. You can never outlive your pension. By purchasing pension, you are increasing this guaranteed stream of payments that you will receive for as long as you live. Whenever making a purchase, the source of the funds must come from a registered, tax-sheltered vehicle. For example, an individual RRSP or a DC pension plan. But the funds may not come from any after-tax vehicles. So no funds from your bank account or any after-tax investments. Now, we would never ask anyone to calculate a pension purchase on their own, which is why we have some excellent pension estimator tools on the DBplus website, and that's available for all of our members. These tools are a great resource and will obviously help you in making a better informed decision with regards to your particular purchase. So please visit www.dbplus.ca. How to join DBplus. If you've heard of the CAAT pension plan or our new innovative plan design called DBplus, here are the simple steps to joining. The first thing you should do is contact us directly, whether that be by phone or email, or you can visit us at our office in downtown Toronto. Next, it would be very beneficial to coordinate CAAT to provide an education session for your particular group. You would also want to choose an effective date for participation for your members and also choose a contribution rate. So again, employers and/or bargaining units can choose to contribute anywhere between 5 and 9% in DBplus. Members contribute a fixed rate within that range, and the employer would match dollar for dollar. Once that's all determined, as an employer, you would want to submit the application and participation agreement to CAAT. And then you're on your way. Here is a list of resources that CAAT can provide to all of our prospective employer groups. We have a dedicated website, very useful online pension estimator tools, and we also have an employer manual outlining specific employer guidelines. So whether you are an employer or an employee and you have any questions about the CAAT pension plan or DBplus, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Contact us at 1-866-350-2228 or send us your questions in writing at info@dbplus.ca. Thank you for joining us.